Hello, everyone. Today I'm looking at Unreal Tournament Monster Kill. I went through this in my Unreal video, but this is an era of PC gaming I kind of missed out on. But I have to say, I've heard all the memes about, Unreal Tournament and all the, the lines and whatever, but actually playing it is, wow, this game is really, really good and really fun. And that's for a bunch of reasons. Also, recently, Unreal Epic considered this abandonware, so they just were like, okay, whatever. Here's just the game. We don't care. Just here it is for free or whatever. And just playing, the main kind of campaign. Again, there's no story. Just playing the main thing here for the game felt really, really good. Just overall, really, really fun. And I can see why people love this series so much. Just in terms of the quality of the game, I mean, in terms of the arena shooter, this is the game that Quake 3 Arena wishes it was. It is so much fun, so fast paced, great music, great energy. It is really, really amazing. There's no other way to put it. I think another thing that this game has that other games, future games, even in its own series like Unreal Tournament 3 or whatever, they lose a lot of visual clarity. It's like very much red versus blue. The whole game has an ethereal quality to it. And as I said previously, one of the main things I really enjoy about this series, or what got me into this series, was the atmospheric D&B music mix about Unreal. And I was going through a phase where I was looking at older games like on the PS1, like what was it, Ape Escape, certain racing games, that they all were incorporating jungle music, like a very high BPM. And I just thought, where have these games gone? Where has this music or this aesthetic or this feeling gone? And I realized that there was a certain point where it was just it was there at some point, and I just kind of miss it, I guess. So even if you still play with bots, it's still a really great game. It basically has 5 different sort of areas or modes. One of them being, what was it? So you have your normal deathmatch, you have your CTF, you have domination or dominion or something, which is exactly, that, like 3 areas to attack. You then have, what was the last mode? Oh, you have Assault, which is like TF2. Again, all these are like great modes. Only problem with Assault is that you kind of, have to play the same handful of maps. And because they're all super, super specified, it's like, okay, this is this area, this is this, objective, and they don't change per match. I mean, that works for TF2, but I don't know. I can imagine getting a little bit samey with this kind of game. And so, at least on the main game, outside of online, it just makes you do about 12 or 15 levels where you have to just come in first each time. And so basically then you can claim a trophy in that category. And the last one, the final one, is called the champion category. And that one's super interesting and super cool because it's just a free-for-all deathmatch instead of team deathmatch or anything. And that's really interesting because there technically is a boss to this game. There's a final boss called Xan, X-A-N, who is this alien, basically. And I find him to be super interesting because it was actually like a character. It wasn't like, okay, you're fighting Joe now or Blow now or, whatever. And it's funny that, again, Quake 3 Arena had the exact same approach to this style of game. Like, oh, we do a bunch of these missions. And I really did not enjoy Quake 3 single player because it seemed to just be doing the same stuff over and over again. There was no clear trophy or when am I done? It just keeps, just keep playing more of this, more team deathmatch. And it wasn't even that fun. Again, this demolishes Quake 3, and I understand now when people say headshot, like that old school shooter aesthetic and vibe is just here, and it's so sweet, it's so good and so energetic. And I just thought the headshot, the sniper, like, I love the sniper, but my god, the area for what would you even call hit marker, it's so first of all, it's a one-shot kill to the head, but if you're even aiming out the shoulders or the upper chest, you'll still get that headshot. And there's a reason why the sniper is one of the last weapons you get in the game, because it is really, really overpowered, ridiculously so. I really like it though. I think it's super, super cool. There's also a nuke gun that you also get, which I think is very nifty. Very, very, very cool. It has a huge AoE that just kills everything in it. Again, the maps are super cool, and I just wanted that experience of, you know, having that music and that gameplay mesh together, and to see what is Unreal, what is the real vibe of Unreal, and what is it trying to do and say and create. And there's something just very classic about it. The way I describe it is, I don't know, just an aesthetic, abstract, interesting shooter that just, I don't know, it just has a certain energy and quality to it that I just really enjoy and appreciate. Again, the game feels very fair. If you one-shot someone with a rocket, then, you know, that's, you know, what happens. They die immediately. And again, the whole headshot system with the sniper, it feels so broken, and I love sniping. And I would have... Man, back in the day, I would have absolutely dominated this game. I would have had so much fun. And yeah, I don't know. There's something about this that I'm not sure if it's lost in the sequels, but I understand why this is considered such a classic game, even though it's very gameplay focused. And I'm very much someone who appreciates story and narrative and lore and all that stuff. I do really get and appreciate why this game is so beloved, because it has that amazing energy to it. Another thing I really like is that the environments are very abstract. The character models are like the perfect level of abstraction and realism, when they're kind of like, okay, I can tell that's a person, but they're kind of chunky, kind of blocky. They kind of look like Fortnite, if you understand what I mean. It just feels very fun. You know, there were a few times where I was like, we're losing, this sucks, I don't want to play this anymore. Things like that. It was fun even losing, because there's always something you could learn or adapt or do. And some of my favorite levels are the ones in space, or the ones with low gravity, because it just has such a different feeling and vibe to them, where it's like, okay, I'm going to go do... fly around the sky and do rockets, or maybe I'll try this weapon and I'll switch to this weapon. Maybe it'll be good with this one. It felt really, really cool and really good. Again, there was a certain strategy of knowing, like in a typical arena shooter fashion, you had to memorize where all the power weapons were, where all of the health items were, essentially, and just kind of memorize those important aspects of the game. Again, even playing with bots is super, super fun. Another thing I think this game might have lost from its predecessors, or successors rather, is color theory and color simplicity. The idea or framework that says, okay, I want to have a very clear, concise vision for visual information. And in this game, you have red team and blue team, and because of the low poly environments, how everything's kind of more or less blocky and kind of abstract, it really gives you this sense of just instant visual clarity. And you look at other next-gen games or future-gen games where essentially that is just not the case. There's so much detail and so much going on screen, and, you know, the lighting and everything in bloom, that you literally get distracted by all of the graphics and you can't focus on the gameplay, while something like this is very much focused on gameplay alone. It is, you know, for gameplay first and graphics second. The graphics are nice though, and some of the aesthetics are really interesting. Like when you start the tutorial, you're in this like stained glass window church, And again, you know, it's very hard for me to fall in love with the game just based on the gameplay. But this has the music, the aesthetics, the style. It is everything. And I just think back to when I tried to like Quake 3. I'm like, oh, this is what the old school shooter experience is supposed to be like, and just not getting into it. But this game is exactly what I wanted, and exactly what I wanted to feel. It was the exact energy, for lack of a better word. And even just playing through the single player campaign that they set up for you, which is a series of like achievements and strategies and whatnot, felt really, really good, really amazing. And again, you have that final boss fight with Zan, and I think it took me only a couple times to beat him. I think I got him on my third try, which I thought was going to take way longer, because there was some point where this guy was like, he was beating me 10-1 and then 15-5. Like, it was just absolutely almost impossible to make a comeback. And I think I made a comeback on my third or so try, where essentially I figured out the strategy, which is that as soon as you fight him, it's just about who has the most amount of armor, right? And once you have the right weapon, which is like, I think the flat cannon and the rockets. I started using the flat cannon and then rockets, where you just charge it up. You have so much ammo, you just let go, 5 rockets at once as soon as you think he's around the corner. And once you do that, what occurs is that you fight him, you shoot him, he can't pick up any health or items, and you basically find out, okay, is the invisibility gone? Is, the armor gone in the center part? Is the life belt in that circular corridor gone? And you just keep farming and walking through those areas while being super vigilant that he's going to spawn somewhere. The only time he got the upper hand was when he was invisible, and I literally could not hit him, and he killed me. And after that one time he killed me, he got like 7 or 10 more kills on me, something absolutely like really insane and ridiculous, just because I missed that initial that initial kill. He got the upper hand, but then I made a comeback where finally I killed him, despite him being buffed with all this health and ammo. And of course, like, the other thing about Zan too is that he'll talk to you. He'll say specific unique dialogue in the game saying, you're not ready yet, humans are feeble. So it's like there's some kind of a story or some kind of energy you can at least establish, similar to Turok, even, where it's like, okay, this is the champion of the universe or something, and we have to defeat him. Speaking of Turok, the one thing that I found in this game that also wasn't Turok that I really despise is the double tap like dash ability, where if you double tap a directional key or on the N64 the D-pad or whatever, or the C pad, what occurs is you basically jump in that direction or hop in that direction, and sometimes I'll just be navigating a very narrow like bridge or something, and I'll just like stop and then start moving again, and then I'll start go in that direction when I didn't mean to, and I'll fall to my death. It's super frustrating, which also brings me up to the fact that, well, not in this game but in the original Unreal, that quick saving, that's the first time I used it a lot. Quick saving was very, very useful and super important in that context, but here it's just purely kind of a multiplayer fan base. Like, when I think of arena shooters, I no longer think of Quake or other games of the ilk. I am thinking of this game. This is the game, in my opinion, that is the prime arena shooter. They of course made a few changes to some of the previous weapons, but things are mostly the same. For example, the Ripper, if you do its alt fire now, it'll shoot an exploding razor rather than the vertical one. So they kind of, that was kind of necessary now that they added a good component to that. The assault levels are really interesting. There was this one underwater one, which was super hard and super difficult at the same time, where as soon as you got past the defenses, it was so easy to beat that. Again, it was kind of frustrating, but also fun discovering what do I exactly do here. The worst offender being the, the castle, more or less, because in the castle, like, you had to go to this one part of the map and do this, and it says the gate bridge is open, and then it's like, the gate house is open. You're like, hey, where am I going? And then the main gate is open and it wasn't the gate you thought it was. So things like that. But those were kind of fun to explore. Again, I just love the announcer. I understand now the memes of like, well, it's interesting because in Halo they do triple kill, but here it's, you know, double kill, multi kill, ultra kill, and then a monster kill. You know, it feels so great when that happens, and you have rampage and whatever, and you know, godlike and killing spree and whatnot. And this game was just designed to be fun. It is, in my opinion, I think the ultimate arena shooter that I just never experienced, but I'm glad at least I got to experience it now. But I understand how people could devote all their time to this game. I think in the modern era, it's very suspicious, I guess might be the right word, where, you know, people kind of say, oh, this is the next big shooter, this is the next big thing, this is, you know, whatever. You know, I played Halo 2. I think my favorite shooters have been Halo 2, Bad Company 2, GoldenEye. I prefer Time Splitters, Future Perfect, I guess. It's kind of the same mechanic. But yeah, in terms of Quake style gameplay, like, I understand now fully that this is highly, highly fun, highly addicting. And the other thing I did too is that after the first few levels, I went into options and I put the music to full, because the music, I think, is so core to the Quake, or rather the Unreal Tournament experience, or the gameplay experience in general. I think it has the right energy, the right attitude, and I think in a way, like, this game is kind of perfect. You know, adding graphics and detail to it, kind of, again, you lose that visual clarity. It's at that level of abstraction where you realize you're going super fast and reacting super quickly in an Unreal environment, right? But I can see that this was the shooter of its time. This was the game where it's like, you don't have to question if it's good or not, or maybe it's not for you, or it's not for everyone. No, this is the game that's so good everyone can enjoy it. I mean, you know, okay, unless you suck, I guess, but it's the kind of game where it doesn't need to argue that you should play it. It's not this hidden gem that's like, oh, if only you played Unreal you would understand, or maybe they patched it or they fixed it. Like, no, this game is just good. It is so balanced, so well made, so polished. It's hard for me to put in words and to do this review because there's nothing for me to really say. It's just a really good game. And again, I don't like multiplayer only games, but this is the gameplay that is tight, it's fast. And again, I just, you know, the thing that makes it special that modern games can never replicate is the aspect of visual clarity, of being able to quickly decipher who's an enemy, who's a friend, the level design, ammo pickups, the types of weapons that are lying on the ground. It's just so clear and concise and just so well made. But yeah, beating the final boss really made you feel, you know, like a champion. It's great, you know, customizing your own character, going through the campaign, replaying those matches. I guess on one side note, I did search online to see if anyone was playing in 2024, and sure enough, there was there were a bunch of lobbies with no one in them, but there was one lobby with 2 guys in it, and I joined that one. And in classic, like, old FPS, like, I find this with like every FPS I play, where the last time I played what was it, the original COD 4 on my buddy's PS3 that he hadn't touched in years, we played it, and the first match we got was an absolute, like, hacked map on console. I don't know how they pulled it off, but everyone's in the air doing, you know, not 360s but 720s, using the intervention, calling in constant airstrikes and helicopters, just totally broken ass gameplay, hacked to death. You know, the people who've been playing that have not played anything else in their life, and they're just ultra super omega elites. And very similarly in Unreal Tournament, the match I joined, it required me to download a bunch of mods, which is like, okay, I have to go to some third-party site, but no, I just downloaded right into the thing, and immediately I'm, you know, grounded with a bunch of assault rifles and different weapons I've never seen. But what was going on the entire match is there was this gigantic red nuke that kept going on and off, and this giant nuclear symbol at the top of the screen, and people were flying around and dying, and I was constantly dying, but I was able to get out of the cloud, grab my own nuke and fire it, and it felt really, really cool. And it wasn't the nuke from the game, it was like a different nuke that was completely retextured. It looked like it was a couple generations graphically ahead of Unreal, which was really interesting. But yeah, Again, this is a very competitive game. It's a very fun game, but the graphical style, the visual clarity, there's something about it that makes it just, I don't know, super classic and iconic. It's just very, very fun and very well made. And I wish I had someone else to play with, to be quite honest with you. This isn't just another shooter. This is the shooter. This is what I think of arcade shooters in the 90s, and what I thought Quake 3 was going to be is what this game is. And yeah, and also it's a very short game in terms of, like, you know, the single player, because it's just meant to be a game that is super, super replayable. So I beat the whole thing in like 5 hours, but the replayability on this thing, maybe back in the day, if I had servers now, if they remastered it or like did something to send a beacon that, hey, everyone's playing this game again, I would absolutely hop on. But again, you can become the champion or whatever relatively quickly. Very satisfying final boss fight. It really feels like it's worth it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All I got to say about this one. It's really great. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.